Aloha kakahiaka kako, Michael Tengan here, broadcasting live from Maui. Here with me, as usual, is my son, Drake Ku Pa'akapo Haku Ikawai Holomoku. Thank you very much for joining me today. I am talking about revolution. And so, when we speak about revolution and the word revolution, it usually brings to mind something that's incited within the people, within a person, that allows them to take action and movement in their lives, usually in relationship to an injustice of some sort, and usually fueled by a deep passion, a deep feeling and emotion. Now, what comes into play if we switch our focus of revolution and look at it from the perspective of where it came from? The etymology behind it talks about revolve. And when we talk about revolve, we see essentially the movement of a cycle. And now I think that also comes into play because when we look at the wisdom of the past and we bring it into our contemporary lives, what we have then is something truly invaluable because it provides with that concept or with that ike, that thought or opinion, a perspective that can truly be useful for us in today's everyday life. And so when we talk about this, then I put this out there to bring perspective upon the concept of resolve to evolve, or our resolution, essentially, in the revolution and the evolution of our communities. And so what that means is looking at our communities and how this fits in the context of community is by framing it in what's known in Hawaii as the Ahupua'a system. Now, the Ahupua'a system is a system of community that existed previously that allowed things to be identified by the movement of essentially mana, so energy. How is it that we interact with each other, and how does that interaction with each other come to be a mutually beneficial relationship? And so as we look at that, then we look at specifically the roles that we occupy and the responsibilities that we fulfill in our communities. So fishermen would fish, they provided fish for the community, whereas those who gathered water would do the same. As we see this interdependence of people in this specific place, then a person could conceivably live, work, and play in this place forever if they wanted to. And now we don't necessarily see that in our communities today. Often our communities are subject to different things that are happening, and as such, that interdependence has shifted. And so to then bring that revolution into place, right, wisdom of the past now into our present, then it's less, I feel, about interdependence and more about interconnectivity. Yet to truly be connected to another person requires us to be connected to ourselves. And so we take another model. Let's toss in the hierarchy of needs. So Abraham Maslow is a psychologist and said, hey, if you want people to be the absolute best versions of themselves, to be able to get into a place of contribution, then what's required is that they are able to essentially get into a place where they can contribute, and to get into that place of contribution, they need to be able to satisfy their basic needs. Now, those basic needs are food, water, shelter, safety. As we get into a place, then from there, then we also get into what is it that builds beyond that? So things in terms of esteem and belongingness. And then as we get into that, then the psychological and ultimately the actualization of an individual. Now, here in Maui County, we're dealing with what's known as plantation-era politics and economics. Essentially, these are things that come from good old plantation days, which a lot of the people here come from. And there was a very specific system that kept people in a very specific place. Now, flashing forward nearly 100 plus years after the plantations really opened their doors first in the 1890s, then what we see is not a whole lot has changed. Here in Maui County, we're still dealing with things in terms of food. So our capacity to determine the food that we grow, as well as being highly dependent upon outside sources. Nearly 90% of what Hawaii consumes, Maui County consumes, is brought in from outside sources. Water, so water rights and preservation, our capacity to access the water that we have, which is very much tied to life itself, and our capacity to determine how we utilize that. A lot of the plantation era politics come from then larger business entities that exist that are essentially exercising their will over the people. Last piece then is shelter or housing, affordable housing. We are amidst a housing crisis right now where we don't have nearly enough units or inventory of houses to be able to provide for the people that live here. The everyday working class person is hard pressed to find housing that's affordable. Now, what that all ties then into is keeping us in what Maslow identified as the basic needs or the physiological needs of a people. And there's my son rocking in the back. In any case, what we want to look at then is how do we engage this as a community? And so the voyage and the journey that I am expanding upon or really embarking upon now is the exploration of this in what I'm calling vital communities, and is essentially the modern contemporary realization of the Ahupua'a system. Now, my intention is to walk this path and to bring others upon it. And there already are many people who are. Yet, if we're looking at what is a vital community and the etymology behind that, it's all about life. Now, I look at this as being incredibly powerful because the Hawaiian name that I was gifted as a child was Keola Mau. Now, Keola Mau translated loosely is everlasting life. And so my commitment is to walk this path, to explore the options that exist for us as a people, and to be able to incite a revolution within others in terms of the evolution of our communities. So thank you very much for joining me today. Love and aloha to you all. Drake, say bye.
Bye.
That, by the way, is my why. Love and aloha to you all. Take care and ahui ho.